Just grab them in the brisket.
Let's get into one of our earlier pit barbecue war stories. And this is back when me and Jan were rolling around. We're at Double J Cookers. This is a few years back. And we were doing the local barbecue competition circuit. And back then it was like local bar cook-offs. You know what I mean? I'm not going to lie. I mean, I kind of miss doing those.
For sure. Yeah, it's 45 teams. It's serious competition because these guys are really good smokers. I mean, when we started doing this, these guys are probably the best in this Gulf Coast area that we're in, for sure.
Most of them was like a guaranteed $1,000 for first place brisket.
Yeah, in like 2,000.
Yeah.
You know, that's legit money. Plus the Calcutta money.
Yeah.
Which, if you know what a Calcutta is like an auction for your meat, right? So you could buy my team, I could buy your team, I could run your team up to $1,000 or $2,000, and then if you don't pay it, I could buy your team, right? And then if you won first place, then it was like a side pot. You always had a side thing happening, you know. So
yeah. It was just a big gambling type deal where
Fantastic.
People can come in and purchase your team. You would always have the opportunity to buy half of your team if you didn't buy your team. And some of these prize purses would get up to upwards of $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000. I mean, crazy, ridiculous money that was being spent. So we would frequent these cook-offs quite regularly, and it was brisket and
ribs. Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
They didn't do chicken.
No, and even when they started doing chicken, they didn't do it really correctly. Like it was a weird cook-off, right?
Right.
Nobody, like, there was no half chicken or anything else. It was really kind of, I think the IBCA, that's where that actually became bigger probably throughout the 2000s in this area that we started having that product or that entry that we could do. But before that, yeah, it was brisket and ribs. I mean, you could cook chicken, but I mean, I didn't know how to cook it. It was, I mean, some of the things I tried was, if you could go back in and take a picture of it, you're like, oh my God, what is that piece of shit meat you've done over there, you know? So we definitely have failed a bunch in order to be where we're at today.
So let's get into one of our barbecue war stories. And this particular story, it sticks out to me. It's like, it was one of our cook-offs that we were pretty successful. And we were, just me and Jan. This is well before Chasing More Smoke and all this stuff. So it was me and Jan, Double J Cookers, and we were cooking. And we're at this cook-off, and we sit up next to a team, and they were called, was it Impact Cookers?
Yeah, that's right.
Impact Cookers.
Impact Cookers. One of the best teams, by the way. This is not like a slouch.
Yeah, one of the best teams in this area, and probably, quite frankly, probably in the state of Texas, cooking at this time. I mean, they is a husband-wife team. They cook some phenomenal barbecue, and I guarantee you, every cook-off that we went to, they were the ones that you competed against to win.
If they weren't second, they were first.
Correct.
So it was a husband-wife team. Danny and Kay, right? That's her name. They owned a auto body shop and repair shop at the Houston area, and I know they did good work and whatever else, and they cooked good barbecue. Mm-hmm. I think Kay was more of like the methodical type cooker, right? Everything was regimented, everything was down to a T. And Danny was there to cook, but I think he was there to do business. You know, he was always networking, talking to people.
Really, he was socializing.
He was socializing. Networking is a good word, right?
Networking is a
I'm not trying to
great
slight
word.
Danny in any way. I think he brought his own value to the team, and hey, they won, right? They won a shit ton of cook-offs, a lot of first place calls. Yeah. So,
did they won? But they won after
a lot. They won, but after I think there was a hard lesson learned. Let me tell you guys, when you go to war. This is what we're talking about. We're talking about war. We're talking about, you're not beating me. I'm going to defeat you. And this is kind of how this started. Is that
My brisket is better than yours.
Yeah. It's so simple, right?
I'm going to beat you.
My dad can beat your dad up.
Yeah.
That's how it started, right? My brisket's better than your brisket.
Yes.
And I took offense to that. I know James did. He took offense to this. So James and I are twins. James is probably a little more reserved than I am. He'll probably sit back and maybe not say so much unless you ask him. And if you ask him, he'll tell you. Yeah, right. I am more like, okay, you say something, I will say something. If you don't like it, then okay, whatever. I mean, it's like I'm very much more probably not outgoing, but I'm probably a little more in your face a little bit. Sometimes to my own detriment, right? And sometimes it's okay. So,
are we fighting now?
Right. I will cut you. So yeah, I mean, well, I guess we started this up. I mean, we had a huge cook-off, probably at a local favorite cook-off that I actually like doing.
The Windmill Ice House.
Yeah, Windmill.
Yeah.
So it was $1,000 guarantee first place brisket. That was just for the brisket only, and then they had other prizes for ribs. I think it was it
Calcutta.
Chicken.
I don't. They didn't have chicken, right?
They did something different.
Maybe they did.
Maybe it was chili, or they did a chili cook-off.
Maybe beans.
Beans cook-off. So, but you could, if you were to win first place in every category, you could probably walk out with like probably $1,600. You know, not including the Calcutta, which is even nowadays
could get another couple thousand or $1,000.
Yeah, for sure.
$3,000 you can walk out of there like easy.
Yeah, for sure. And then, even nowadays that's great money. So.
Can we say, let's just preface this with, back then, there was no prime briskets. There was no Wagyu briskets rolling around.
No.
This was all...
Yeah, I think you could get prime.
Maybe.
I don't know if it was actually
I don't remember that
prime.
being labeled as prime.
Yeah. You just like...
Everything was just like a brisket.
You just look at the marbling, right?
Right. You look at the
that's
marbling.
That's a prime brisket. I'm taking this.
You kind of fold it up a little bit. Does it okay, I'm going to take this one right here. So, I mean, there was really no, like it is nowadays, where they label it prime, choice, select, blah, blah, blah. I mean, back in the day, it was like select and choice. That was it.
Yeah, I think prime is another avenue they went to when they started seeing all this meat come out that was like really well marbled. And like, great, we can charge more money for this. And then just another product that they started serving. So
we bought choice briskets. That's it.
Yeah. And truthfully, you get a choice that look like a prime.
Yeah.
All day long,
I'm not going to lie. And I don't want to be the conspiracy theorist and start throwing a little shade out to everybody or whatever. But ever since this whole prime thing took off, I swear to God, every time I go to the grocery store, that prime grade is starting to look less and less and less like prime. It's starting to look like just a upper two-thirds choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree. I think the grading system's gone down. I think that you're starting to see meat that says Wagyu that is truthfully should be marbled.
I think it's a byproduct of everybody wanting to go out there and buy prime. They go to the grocery store and I want prime. Well, look, every cow out there, only probably a fraction of them get labeled as prime.
Yeah.
And then there's just not enough of those cows to go around to everybody's supermarket to where they can just get prime briskets. And then you got Killins over at Killins Barbecue just soaking up all the prime briskets. And then you got Aaron Franklin over at Franklin's Barbecue just soaking up the prime briskets and just doing all stuff like that. There's not that many prime briskets to go around to everybody.
Well, so just give you a good little thought here. Aaron Franklin, I think it's like 140 briskets they do in a 24-hour period. So there's 2 briskets for each cow.
Right.
So
left one and right
70 cows. That's 70 cows right there.
70 cows a day.
A day. So, I mean, I'm not saying that they're not using all their meat or doing whatever else. I'm just saying the quality starts to go a different direction when you're raising for a certain thing. So, and you, don't get me wrong, they're outsourcing to certain ranches and certain things, and maybe they can actually contain, I mean, their quality and the way they breed and the way they administer the feed and everything else. Yeah. For us back in the day, there was just a choice. It was choice.
Choice was it.
And
not to throw shade on anybody, but all these like barbecue restaurants that are popping up everywhere, like Prime this, Prime that, whatever. A couple of years ago, you had Snow's Barbecue. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Yeah.
Snow's Barbecue with Tootsie and
regarded as one of the best barbecue cookers
pit
and
masters.
yeah.
She got inducted into the Texas Barbecue Hall of Fame.
Rightfully so.
Do you know what grade of meat they cook there?
Choice. That's right.
They cook choice briskets.
Choice briskets. Right? Because you know why?
Because it's cheaper.
It's cheaper, but they felt the quality and the way they cook their meat, they weren't getting a benefit of paying the extra prices for the prime.
No.
And to be honest with you, I mean, I see the way the meat's coming out right now. I see what prime should look like, and I know what I buy sometimes. It's not the same. And I bought choice, and I've had choice come out be just as tender or more juicy or
Sure.
more flavorful than what the prime has. So,
Yeah.
I mean, truthfully, if you're not studying your meat and figuring out what works best for you, just buying a label, that's not going to work. So,
No.
like, you're spinning your wheels. You're spending money, you know.
Yeah.
So, but go back to barbecue war stories, right? So, hey, I go back to, I'll preface it. Is that you say that? Yeah. I'll preface it by saying, this is war, right? When you come to me, when you come to James and you say these magic words, my brisket is better than yours. I'm like, okay, sure.
For
and
sure.
then you talk crap in between.
We
and
learned that last week with when we talked about the U of H story with the gentleman that we cooked next to.
Yeah, for sure.
Look, be humble, people. I mean, shit. I mean, we're all out here trying to have fun time and just like cook, and we all want to be number one. We all want to be the best, but be a little bit more humble. I mean, shit. We all can't be the best all the time. So at U of H that particular time last week, I mean, that guy was like, he was pretty salty and he wanted to win and he thought he was the best. Hey, by all means, hey, think that. That's great. And so in this particular instance that we're talking today, we were cooking at this cook-off and we got our brisket done. We thought we were where it needed to be. We're like, we tasted. What we do is like we cut like a couple of like the first couple of pieces.
Yeah, first 4 or 5 slices are really for
off
us,
that flat.
You know.
So we taste it and like, oh, that's good. That's money.
Oh, it was so tasty.
Flavor, tender, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, wrap the foil back up. Let's wait until we need to cut and turn in. And so we're sitting there, drinking beer like we always do, just like hanging out, having a fun time. Music's cranked up, and then Danny comes over from the team next to us with Impact Cookers, which is our, what would you say, our major competition.
Yeah, no, I think at that cook-off we were at, there's probably 5 people, 6 teams, like 5 to 6 teams that were our major competition.
Sure.
And then it had, probably 25 other teams that could be in the mix any of the time, right? So,
dude, you had we won't go into who was there. Freaking Chad. I don't know if you remember any of those team names or whatever it was.
nah, because they've changed them so much.
They change them every time.
Yeah, so
you had old Chad Harris.
Yeah, Chad Harris, Ricky.
You
had
Fernando.
Yeah, Fernando's cooking.
Yeah.
Which all those guys were cooking those guys are cooking every single weekend, and they're winning multiple cook-offs every weekend, right?
Yeah.
So
for me and Jan, these guys were like kind of the OGs. I mean, we learned a lot from those guys. And we branched off and started doing our own thing. So we finished up. Danny from this team strolled over.
Yeah. I guess you have to see Danny. He's kind of a tall, slender man, salt and pepper hair, slick back kind of,
Yeah.
He
Probably
comes over.
rocking some Wranglers.
Yeah, he comes over.
Button up Western shirt.
I've seen him talk to a whole lot of people, but I've not seen him cook today, type deal. I've seen Kay, his wife, just knock it out of the park. And to be honest, their biggest secret is being consistent. And I think I said this on the very first cook-off. Yeah. Consistency will win you more cook-offs than being like trying to just throw a bunch of things together and do a cook-off. You won't be consistent that way.
Yeah.
Right?
If
you're not going to win.
If you have a timetable down
yep.
and you're consistent as far as what you do and you stick with it, you'll be great. That's
for sure. So I think Danny comes over, and I think we're so proud of like how our brisket came out. Like we weren't fronting. We weren't trying to like, hey Danny, come taste this brisket, whatever. Hey, so
suck a dick.
Yeah, and just be like being an asshole. Like honestly, just being a young man. It's like, hey Danny, hey listen, this is our brisket. You want to try it? Hey, and of course he's been walking around trying everybody's brisket, right? Mm-hmm. So
he's filling out the competition.
He doesn't want you to know what he's doing, but it's like, come on, dude, I know what you're doing. So I'm like, hey, no problem. Here. So we had already turned in at this point, and we slice off a piece. And we hand it over to him, and this thing just basically folds over your finger, right? It's a perfect slice, perfect smoke ring, perfect, right? It just looks good. Now, if we don't win this cook-off, I don't care. It doesn't bother me, right? I don't feel like I've been cheated or anything else. I know I cooked a good piece of meat. I know James cooked a good piece of meat, but I don't feel like I've been slighted in any way, right? First bite Danny takes. What does he say? That's good brisket. But let me show you what number one tastes like. First of all, who says that?
Yeah.
That just sounds so... I don't know this guy that well. Like, if I was one of my buddies that I hung out with, if he were to say it to me, I'm like, okay, great. Show me number one, right? I can laugh with you. But for being a guy that just wins a bunch, right? Or a team that wins a bunch, I get your cockiness a little bit, but it's like... Dude, I don't even know you. Like, you shouldn't be coming at me like that. Those are fighting words.
I remember this story a little bit different.
Do you?
Yes.
Okay, go.
I remember him bringing over his brisket.
You're exactly right.
I remember him coming over with his brisket, very just ecstatic, just happy, jubilee.
Yeah,
you're
right.
Hey,
I forgot that part.
Guys. Obviously, you don't know what you're doing over here.
Let me show you what number one tastes like.
Taste this brisket, which is number one, and let me know what you think. And then we tasted it, and it's like, dude, that's solid. I mean,
that's a good piece of brisket.
That's a good piece of brisket. I mean, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
It tastes great.
Yeah.
And then Jan was like, and he's about to walk off, and you're like, ho. Hey, hold on, Danny. Before you go, why don't you taste a little bit of ours? And hey, let us know what you think. Where do we, whatever, rank? So we cut him off a slice and we give him a piece, and he eats it, and he's just chewing. And you can see the wheels turning. You can see him just processing this flavor that he just put in his mouth. And we're like waiting, and I shit you not, this guy just like looks at us and just turns around and just walks off.
Who does that?
Who does that?
I don't
Didn't
know.
say a comment. Me and Jan are like, is it good? Does he think it's horrible? I mean, what's happening here?
Yeah, he really didn't put a whole lot into. No, I think he told me. I think he made a comment. Like, I think we walked over to his group.
Well, that's good.
That's good. Yeah, and walked off. Right,
yeah.
It was just very nonchalant, very nothing. Go back and like another 30 minutes later, right? We're standing a big group of people. He's standing there, and Kay is so appreciative, right? She's just like, oh, hey guys, just very.
She's a sweetheart.
Yeah, basically, he looks over and he's like, we got first place. We being Danny and Kay got first place, and then he's like, everybody else, he's trying to name off people who he thinks could be a different place or whatever.
Because he went around tasted everybody's.
Yeah, because he already judged himself, right?
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, that's whatever. So flash forward, we actually called out numbers, right? I think Danny and Kay got second, second place in that cook-off.
Second place brisket, which is
It's
great.
good. Yeah, I mean, 45 teams. I mean, 2nd out of 45. Hey, man, you cooked a good piece of brisket, right?
For sure. Who
Yours-
got first place?
Yours truly, right? Double J Cookers.
Double J Cookers.
We just knocked out of the park. First place, we walk up, we grab our trophies. I think we walked by Danny and Kay, and we basically said, hey,
Congratulations.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Very humble about everything, Everybody's kind of cheering a little bit. We won a shit ton of money, and then
$2,000 or $3,000.
And then Danny goes out and he kicks the side of his car in.
Just kicking the shit out of it.
Well, it's only because when I got back to my team, because he told me like 3 times that day, like, come taste what first place tastes like. Come taste what first place tastes like. So I walked back to our team area. I was setting up, and I called Danny over, and I said, Danny, why don't you try what first place really tastes like? I've heard this all day long. Like, you just can't do that to people, So he walked over, and I started this thing off with, he owned a paint and body shop, right? So he kicks the side of his car in, and basically Danny he's just gone berserk, right? And Kay is like, okay, we're here now. How do I get him out of here,
Right.
And then, so they finally loaded up everything, and we helped them load up, It was kind of embarrassing a little bit. Feel bad for that. He went out, I'm pretty sure the next weekend, he had a brand new door, brand new paint job, and it was fine.
He had to fix his own truck.
He fixed his own truck. So, yeah, BBQ War. Hey, when you go to war, you go to war. This is not for like, hey, win, lose, or draw. We're all friends. When you call me out, when you call James out, you call Chasing More Smoke out, anything, when you call us out, it's putting war paint on, right? Brisket juice is going underneath the eyelids. We're going to war.
When you mess with the bull, you get the horns.
That's what I'm talking about.
Just grab them in the brisket.